Hey everybody, Jamie Kelly here, and you are watching the Otherworldly Fundraising channel. This is one of the videos from the 2024 online fan convention. We had a lot of fun talking to a wide range of people, actors, writers, cosplayers, you name it, about all kinds of topics. We had a great time, and we know that you're going to get a big kick out of it. The 2024 Otherworldly Fundraising season has been for MomBomb, which is a great organization helping mothers and some fathers who are in distress. It's a great charity, and we were more than happy to help them out. So if you would like to give, check out the information down below. And thank you all so very much. And now, on with the show. Hey everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Casey, for being here. It's like Otherworldly Fundraising, and we're 62% of our goals and financially, and also we're just here to talk and have fun and support MomBombs, which is a really great charity, and we've got an ad to run for that and stuff later. But
MomBomb helps moms and sometimes dads in crisis by offering grants for things like meal delivery, childcare, housekeeping, laundry service, and more. Because mom takes care of the whole family. But who's taking care of mom?
very good. Okay, cool. Well, again, thanks for joining us today. And I'm just going to start with the hard-hitting questions, and some may be obvious and some maybe not. But what started you in the world of making costumes and such, and kind of why do you do it?
Awesome. Yeah. So for those who don't know me, my name is Super Kayce. I go by Super Kayce Cosplay online. I started in the world of cosplay in 2009. And my very first costume was a Supergirl costume that I put together. I had that you can see on the screen. And it's near and dear because it was like a love project. I had no idea what I was doing. It was the first costume I ever put together. Funny enough, I was in college at the time. I was a freshman, and I had gotten a magazine at my dorm where an ad for the Superman celebration was there. Never had heard of it before, never knew of it. And I decided with a friend that we were going to go. We were going to make costumes together, and we were going to make the 6.5-hour drive. And it was just like a world of my people. I'd been a long time comic book reader. I had never really made anything professionally at that point. I'd known how to sew a little bit from my grandmother growing up, but really just kind of put time and energy into a costume. I had a bed sheet as the cape. I had tube socks as the shoes, and I had dyed my suit and added ruffles to my skirt, and it was just a very fun, loving project. Went out to the Superman celebration, met folks like you, Trevor, and just felt like I met my people. And ever since then, been kind of living the dream, making costumes and going out to cons. So
very cool. Well, it was really an honor to know you. And such a good Supergirl, and other things that you've done.
Thank you
Though
so
your Stargirl is also exceptional. So you probably answered this a little bit, but I'm going to say, when you were a kid, like Halloween or something, or what's your earliest thing you kind of remember making or putting together?
Great question. I've seen, like, my mother was very creative, and so I remember that, like, I was a fire truck and my baby sister was a Dalmatian at one point, and she had put that together with cardboard and construction paper. I think probably I didn't get creative until I was a little older in life, so I think when I hit my 16, 17-year-old age, I started putting things together rather than buying homemade costumes. The first costume I ever put together was an Alice in Wonderland, and went with my friends, and they were all different characters of the Tea Party. But my mother was very creative, and my older brother is a nerd, a lifelong nerd. I remember reading my very first comic when I was 7 years old, which was a X-Men comic. Now I'm a DC fan, so it's a whole thing. But yeah, for me, I would say I probably didn't get a little creative until a little bit later on in life.
Well, that's all right. So basically, kind of the Supergirl thing was your genesis point, and
Yeah, it was really me putting myself down on paper, and that was like, I knew I wanted to be Supergirl. I knew I wanted to be comfortable, and at that point, I don't think I had pulled out a sewing machine and done anything. I'd kind of sat with my grandmother and done it, but yeah, I would say Supergirl was like kind of the big first one for me.
So at what point did you decide that you wanted to start doing things maybe more on a convention route, and maybe more like as a way to career express yourself and stuff? When was that decision made? Was that kind of around Supergirl after that? You're like, or was it a few more years later?
I say the genesis of my cosplay career, and I'll say that because I don't get paid to cosplay, I do it out of a passion of love, is that in 2010, I started to connect with more costume makers. So Scott Bales was like a huge inspiration to me in the beginning. The way that he sewed things were so clean and very comic book like, and was very for me it was comic to costume, and for that was really dear to my heart. You'll see a lot of my work is very clean, and it's because I think I still live in a world that Scott Bales is my muse. And you know, we got to meet a lot of great costumers in that time frame of really impeccable sewing skills. A lot of the armor items didn't come a little bit later in my career, but around 2010 I decided that I wanted to start practicing and putting you know, just putting a sewing machine in front of myself. It didn't have to be perfect. It was whatever I could pump out. So I did a Huntress costume at one point. I did a Robin costume at one point. They're all terrible now, but like at that point, it was like a baby costumer learning how to sew. I don't think I really hit that point where I was doing it on a level that most people would say that was something professional until about 2010 or 2014. So it definitely took me a lot of practice. I would say back then, and Trevor, you know this, right? Like it was very hard to find tutorials. There was a lot of gatekeeping in the community at that point. Somebody would do something really cool and we would never know how they did it. And so I think that it was probably a little bit around 2014 that I started trying to really produce the next level costumes.
That's really cool. Well, the sewing, I feel like, I mean, just as someone who's completely daunted by a sewing machine, but my mom sewed and did a lot of stuff. I know it's such a cool skill to have, and
it takes a lot of work. I mean,
it does, but it opens a lot of doors up to what you can do, what you could make. Yeah. So, what would you consider doing creatively with your time if you weren't doing the cosplay things?
Right now I'm painting a lot, and I'm like, Trevor's got his beautiful artwork behind him, and like I'm nowhere near that. I'm just like doodling with some paint pens, but I think people who can highlight and shadow things is very beautiful. Like cosplayers who do like the borderland stuff where they can cell shade is like so unique and creative in my opinion. So I'm just kind of painting on my time off, and I feel like maybe I would have done that, or cooking right now has been a passion where I think it kind of really keeps your home healthy, but it also kind of defines the periods of the day. So like I cook a lot of dinners because you get off work and you kind of have this work-life balance, but I think cooking or painting probably would have been the two things.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, and I usually feel like creativity runs in waves where you can do more than one thing, you know, or you have more abilities. If you've got that creative soul, it can express in different ways.
Until you hit that like hyper fixation, and then you're like, I'm doing this one thing for the next couple weeks, and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. Until you'll probably maybe burn out and try to go back to something else. It's like when you eat peanut butter every day for a while. But so, okay, a conceptual question. Okay. Cosplay or crossplay or both?
Interesting. So I think in the beginning there was a lot of debate about this, and so costuming is the act of putting a costume on your body and wearing that costume, made or purchased. Cosplay is costume plus play, which is the act of acting out that character as you wear the costume on your body. So a lot of this is associated with a lot of like Harley Quinns and Deadpools and things like that, because they're in the character as they're wearing the costume. Crossplay is where you then take your character to a different gender or race or sexual orientation, and you're able to then have your own fan art of the character. So I don't think there's any wrong way. A lot of us are adults putting costumes on our body. And so I think there's no wrong way to do it. I would say I'm probably more of a costumer than a cosplayer. I don't or will never probably have any stage experience or acting experience, and I'm really terrible because I get terrible secondhand embarrassment by like myself acting out things. But I would say costumer is probably where I came from and what I would still identify as now.
Well, I think too, well, with crossplay too, there would be that subtle, are you doing a gender swap of the character, or are you doing a gender swap of yourself? So
yeah. I love that. I think
subtle idea. There's, I don't, it's the one thing I've not done. It's a grail, and I shouldn't be talking about myself, but I really want to do, someday I want to do a Batman costume and take the 1950s Batwoman costume that was the spike mask red and then the red and yellow, and do that as a man. So it'd be Batwoman, but it'd be Batman.
Oh, I love that.
I think it would probably just look like another version of Robin, though, because the sketches I had done, my friend Alan Belk had done, it's like people say, well, it just looks like grown-up Dick Grayson, and I'm like, oh, crap. So...
No, I think that's so cool. Like, and that's like the fan of the art of it all, right? Like, I really wanted to do Loki, but I didn't want to do Sylvie, right? I didn't want to do like the female variant Loki. I wanted to be Loki, giant horns and all.
Exactly. So yeah, there's that subtle.
Yeah.
But that whole range can exist, and that's kind of pretty fun.
Yeah, it's so cool. I think that's so cool.
So, can I ask you about your work with Wizard World?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, tell me about.
When I have a degree in hospitality event management, so the reason I got that was because I wanted to be able to work at, Comic-Cons or convention centers. I wanted to be able to do, putting on events. I was doing a lot of guesting with Wizard World in the 2016, 2017 era, and I see my buddy Steve's on. He's like my booth manager, so like he'll keep me straight if I say something wrong. But if I did a lot of guesting for Wizard World in 16 and 17, and then I was hired on to help grow their cosplay and anime space by, working with local talent, bringing in an anime area. And so I stopped guesting with them for a while and just kind of worked in the space of putting the shows on. In 2018, they did go through a hard budgetary cycle, and so I was laid off from Wizard World at that point, went back to guesting for them, and then shortly after, obviously, Wizard World is no longer a company anymore and has been kind of brought in-house to Fan Expo, which does a lot of shows as well in the United States and then a couple in Canada. But I have nothing but respect for shows that can do multiple cities and like basically go like 1,000,000 miles an hour and do 19 shows a year. I think that's wild, and have nothing but respect for shows like that.
Well, did you find that the costuming for those and in planning and being with that, did it make a different kind of approach rather than Metropolis and the smaller cons, do you think? Or
Yeah, I would say
Is
so.
that,
I think the thing that most people don't know about Metropolis that I like to talk about is that it's an outdoor convention and you don't actually buy tickets, and like you don't do the normal con experience, right? It's kind of the event is what you make of it. There's a lot of open air booths, there's a lot of events, but you get to kind of choose your own adventure for Superman Celebration. It's also a much different experience for costumers in general because it's outside. There's times that the ground is over, it's 100 degrees outside
yeah.
and the ground will melt the bottom of your boots.
Yep.
There's times where it rains for an hour and then it's so sticky and humid, humid outside, that you can't even like get spandex off your body. So it's a much different experience going to a Superman Celebration than anything else. So, when I started to do shows, I started to do little sort of 1,000-person shows, and that was comfortable. That was easy. It was an easy transition. The first big show I did for Wizard was in Indianapolis, and it was a several 1,000-person show. So a much different experience. And I would say that the skill level is a little different, and then the type of costumes are a little bit different.
Yeah.
We at Metropolis, we don't get a lot of anime costumes, right? We get a lot of like superhero costumes. We get villains and superheroes. We get a lot of DC characters. We don't get a ton of Marvel characters. We don't get a ton of video gaming characters. But on pop culture event, you're going to get all of that, culture. And you're going to get everything from newbies to veterans.
Oh, okay. So we've got a question. What from Steph? What drew you to the character of Supergirl for your cosplaying?
That is a great question, Steph. I think it probably is twofold at that point. Is one, I love Supergirl as a character, and when I was growing up, I preferred to read a lot of Supergirl versus Superman. I was always drawn to a very powerful female character. I love Power Girl as well, if we're in that vein. In my baby cosplaying experience, it probably was that I didn't have to wear a wig, and I didn't really have that experience quite yet. So I think it's a little bit that I really love a powerful female character, and also at that point, I just didn't have the experience to do anything else.
That's very cool. So what is your favorite part of costuming?
Probably kids. I think when you're in a costume and you have that child experience where they really think you are that character and they really believe everything about it, I think that is the cutest thing. We've Trevor and I have had the pleasure of growing up, coming together with a lot of children around us, like the Bales kids, and yeah, you can just attest that the energy of a kid being around when you're in costume is just completely different. I love that experience. I think also getting to just put your own fan art and your own spin. There could be 50 cosplayers in the same room. We could all make our own, like the same character, and every single one of them would look different. And it would, because we all have our own little different artist ability and put our own little spin on it.
That's very cool. That's interesting. That's good. So how has doing this, putting on costumes, making costumes, affected your worldview and just the way you live your life in general?
Oh, that's a great question, Trevor. I think that's a good question. I think it's a little bit about being open-minded, right? And that everyone in the world is in a different walk of their life. So you may be talking to someone who's in a store-bought costume, and you may be in $1,000 costume that you purchased or that you made yourself from scratch, but neither is right and neither is wrong. And you get to have that experience with that other person, no matter what walk of life you are on. I think that's where we'll talk a lot about Metropolis on this. So if you're new here, just know
Oh,
that
yeah.
we're both super friends and we've been long time friends. But I think that's what's so great about Metropolis is that we can be sitting out there with a whole bunch of different people, all different ages, genders, races, and we're all there because we love Superman, or we're nerdy, or because we are the underdogs in life and we're now the cool kids because nerds are cool now. And I think that's really what I've experienced in the cosplay community is just being able to grow with other people and make friends and be open-minded to other people's experiences.
That's really a great answer. So that's very cool. All right. So, do you prefer an open-ended or a tight deadline?
Now, probably open-ended. I think
Okay.
probably being able to work on my own pace and my own time allows me not to get quite so burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
7 years ago asked me and I would have said I'm night maging this and I'm gonna hit every deadline you throw at me and I'm gonna do it, and then I would be burnt out for weeks. So I think now I like to be able to take the time and work through something and get it the way I want to before wearing it, which is a nice pleasant change of pace.
That's it's with art. It's somewhat the same for getting stuff for an event. Sometimes,
Yeah.
but sometimes you give yourself all the open-ended time, and you still end up crunching at the end anyway, for one reason or another. One part doesn't come together. I'm sure that you have stories about that. Um,
Yeah.
is it easier for you to make a costume for yourself or to maybe make something for somebody else?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely on myself. I envy people who are good at math in general because making commissions and having that skill set, I think, is just wild that you can like measure something and know it's going to fit. Like,
yeah.
I just think that's wild. Scott Bales, Lehman out there in the world, I think that they're incredible because they have that skill. I don't think I will ever have that skill. I like to be able to try things on, put it on my body, even like just making foam bracers. I like to be able to put it on my body and be able to adjust the Velcro or do whatever. So definitely for myself.
Let's see. So, I guess I don't know what I mean by this as ideal world or in general, or you can take this as you like. Um, Making it yourself versus commissioning someone to do it for you. Say there's like an armored Wonder Woman you'd want to do, and there's someone that makes the shield and stuff, and you could get them to do what you wanted, or would you rather make it yourself, even though?
Yeah, I have commissioned a lot of things in my life. Even if I am considered a sewer now, I've commissioned a lot of costumes that I did not sew myself. I think that there are people out there with different skills and different level of skills. So I think the commissioning is totally awesome. I think it's also cool to kind of like practice yourself and see what you can do. But a lot of these commissioners, that's how they make their lifestyle and that's how they pay for their bills. And that is an income for them. So I think it's totally um, amazing to commission things and do it that way. And then on the side, if you want to practice yourself, that's what I would suggest from my side. I think that I was able to get better with sewing spandex while not having the pressure of having something. Like when I was able to commission a bodysuit from Scott, that took the pressure off of me to be able to produce something, but I could still practice. It's also nice because then I can see kind of like the work he did, to be able to like help myself understand the construction of the item. Um, Yeah, so I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think that some pieces, like I'm never gonna, like right now I have no skills in electronics, so like putting lighting in something, if I really wanted that done properly, I probably have to commission something out to someone else.
Yeah, so basically in the end, it's like you're going for a look, and then your ego's not tied up and having to do it all, or you do what you can do and let
Oh,
other people do
absolutely
what
not.
you let other people do what they can do.
Yeah,
And then it
exactly.
makes something really, really cool. And
Yeah,
then,
and a lot of times you're giving back to their, business, right, or their career
yeah, but
because
it's
that's what
support.
they're doing.
Yeah, definitely so. But I like when you get a bodysuit from him, you're probably sewing the emblem yourself, and maybe you
Yeah,
made
there's a
the
lot of
belt and
different things that you
gloves.
can do, right?
That's
So
what I'm
you can
saying.
get a
So
base bodysuit, and then you can do, and I know you guys have worked, with Night Mage before, but a lot of times a base bodysuit Night Mage purchases, but he does all of the foam work, he does all of the airbrushing on top of it, he does all of the emblem work on top of it, right? So it's because he may not have the time or the comfortability to get the bodysuit just right, and it's easier to be able to begin at a base and then add what you want to add, or maybe you have a really strong skill in styling wigs, but you can't sew to save your life, right? So why let your progress not move forward by needing to purchase something?
exactly. Yes, definitely. So what's your favorite, and I think you've just answered it otherwise for me. It's like, what's your favorite costuming medium to work with? I'm guessing you're going to tell me fabric.
Yeah, it's probably fabric at the, I mean, I don't think it's ever changed. I love dabbling in foam. I love working with Worbla. I have very little experience with 3D printing, resin, and electronics. I've done a little bit there, but I would say fabric is probably still the thing that I'm most comfortable with.
Let's see. Well, then what would be the one thing if you had infinite time and money, what would you like to get better at?
Oh my gosh, so many things.
Pick
And I
one.
think the community is just getting like cooler and cooler, right? We're just using so many techniques now. I think I have an airbrush that's sitting up there that I haven't touched. I would love to try airbrushing. I haven't done a ton of 3D printing, and I know that's becoming incredibly popular in the community. I've seen so many costumes that have 3D printing pieces. I haven't done anything with like lights or anything. I would love to make another giant ball gown. I made Belle at one point, made it over just a couple of days, so it's not perfect. I'd love to go back and make some sort of like craftsmanship level costume where everything is just like perfect. There's so many things. I feel like if you can't answer that question with things you want to improve, then you've just plateaued on your skills, and like we should always be trying to improve.
Let's see. So how much of your day is spent making and working on your costumes, and then versus the planning? It's like,
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that nowadays, when I'm leading up to something, I would say that I'm probably spending 4 to 5 hours on actual construction each day. And then there is probably front loaded hours for planning. So like how am I going to do this? What materials do I need to find? Amazon is like my best friend right now, so like trying to find things that I can modify, and so I would say that I front load all my planning hours to the front, and then it's like 4 to 5 hours each day working on costumes, and that's like sewing, or I've been getting really into my Cricut recently, where I'm trying to make the emblems rather than like cut them out of foam or cut them out of fabric. And so I would say I front load the planning hours and then 4 to 5 each day doing the construction.
so would the Cricut It's like you can work with things other than paper and cardboard with it.
Yeah, so vinyl, iron on vinyl is awesome. So I'm gonna debut a new Supergirl costume soon, and the emblem is not an inset emblem that I had to sew the heck out of. It's an actual vinyl emblem that my Cricut just cut out and put together. Where was this 10 years ago? Like,
yeah, I know, that's really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay, so there's a question. Do you have a cosplay that you really want to do? You have something in your mind?
I have a whole folder of costumes that I want to do. I think that this is the addiction of costumes, probably the addiction of the creative world in general, right? Is like you start to just kind of be like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do, let's see if I can give a couple examples. I'm looking at my album here because I want to do a Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers, old school, big wig, like Rita Repulsa. I want to do a Zarya from Overwatch, which is like a heavier armor costume than I've ever done. Also would include electronics, so kind of pushing my skill set. I want to do Anna from Frozen, and really get into like sewing every single piece of it, and really just trying to make it like a super finished costume. From the DC world or the Marvel world, I have always had in my thoughts of doing like a cheerleading Harley Quinn, where she looks like she has stolen pieces of Supergirl's costume, so that she like is trying to fit into like the Superman world so she can go to Metropolis, Illinois. I've always kind of thought that would be really cute, where like it's Harley Quinn masquerading as Supergirl. Homelander from The Boys is on the list right now, but doing a gender bent version of him. So I don't know. I have like 100 things in my to-do list.
Well, the Harlequin should be one that you visit eventually, right?
Yeah, and Harlequin.
Your book, yeah.
I think that there's just so many things that are out there that I want to do.
I'm sure your Alan Scott would appreciate it.
Yeah. At some point, I probably should redo Stargirl for like the fourth time. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, do you find that after the show came on that you had more of an interest in the costume that you did and stuff? I mean, that's an odd question. It just popped in my head. It's like,
no, I love that question. I'm more interested about revisiting it so I could do some sort of lovely wig. So Stargirl was very early on for me. So at that point, I had no interest in wigs. I had no understanding of how wigs worked. But what is her name? Brie? She just is so cute in that show. And she has this like full head of hair. And it's like, so I would say, yes, the show definitely made me want to go back and revisit. Do I love all of the CW looking costumes? No, I don't love a ton of like that texture that they give to costumes all the time. But I would say
they're too heavy. Yeah, they're almost in a way like they're too heavy, too cloth.
They don't look like they have any flexibility sometimes.
Right. It's like they're trying to go so far away from the spandex and the looking like a drawing that they've gone full in reverse.
Sometimes they look like turtles or reptiles because they've got all these scale patterns on them, and like you see Arrow and his costume goes through the generations and it just gets more and more texturized. And you're just like, okay, I feel like you're like reptilian now, like I could just feel you.
Okay, we've got a question from Stephen Fisher. Supergirl. I remember Casey's first cosplay. We were on stage together for the costume contest in the Supergirl category. She won fan favorite that year.
you have progressed so far from that time, Kayce. It's awesome to see where you are now.
Thank you. He's my arch rival in Supergirl costumes, so we have like we're nemesis of who's the cuter Supergirl, and he always wins. So it was just the one year I had to shine.
Well, fortunately for him, he has red kryptonite to talk about, and that that's what made it so special. So, what time of day are you most productive with your art?
That is actually a fabulous question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I would say that I'm more of a night owl. I feel like as I go through the day, I get more productive. I do have the challenge of cutting myself off at some point where I can get really rolling, and then it's like 3 a.m. and I've kind of ruined my whole next day. So I would say I definitely later in the evening is when I'm most productive.
That's very cool.
What about you? Are you productive in the evening? Or are you in
I'm
morning?
I'm usually more the night owl, but after Lynn Workman and we discussed it a while back. It's like anytime really after midnight or 1 o'clock though, when you really think you're rolling on a drawing sometimes, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh my gosh, what was that?
Yeah. And you wake up and you're like, I am feeling like I got hit by a bus because
but also just that the work itself, you got into this zone. So you were working on something, but it really wasn't looking like you
you're just like,
so for you it would be like the stitches were going this way, and then in the next day you were yes. Kristen's saying I'm productive during bowling. Yes, I can work. I work with paint pens too, so anywhere there's a group of people, and I like going to coffee shops and working on drawing there. So it's just nice to have the break.
I love them. I think they're so cool.
The Poscas, they're a little more. Yeah,
I just bought some. They're amazing. Like, it's such a cool thing. Like, I've used it on phone now. So like when I get done with foam and I want to weather it, rather getting a paintbrush and acrylic, I'll use a Posca black pen and put my line of where I want the weathering to happen, and then just use a tissue and like smear that out, and it's so cool. I really like the paint pens.
You could also, with that tissue, just put a drop or two of water, like until it dries. You can thin it out some, but if you thin it out too much, it won't really be waterproof anymore. So I would just recommend that you would put a sealer coat, even on the stuff that's just straightforward. Yeah, you might. Yeah, because sometimes you bump against a child wearing a white Leia costume, and then suddenly they're going to have black on their sleeve, and that's just not nice. So
that would be my favorite thing. Leaving my mark on a child.
So let's see. What working environment stimulates you the most in your flow of creativity?
My kitchen table, and my poor kitchen table has now been replaced 3 times in the last 10 years because I don't put anything down to my kitchen table. And so it's like, got heat gun on it and contact cement, and I have used my scissors and my X-Acto knife all over it. But I think sitting in my kitchen table, watching something like some sort of TV show on my laptop and just kind of sprawled out. I have this beautiful cosplay space in here where I have like a workbench and everything. But when I come into this space, I feel so like consolidated, and I feel a little claustrophobic, and so I need to go and be in like a big space with lots of light and like TV in the background is kind of where I get the most done.
Do you have a favorite beverage or snack to join you for such things like coffee or chips?
That's a great question. Nighttime snack would probably be popcorn and some sort of like juice or water, maybe some wine. I've definitely had a lot of wine making costumes. I think during the day, if I'm trying to get motivated, I am always drinking those sugar-free Red Bulls because I just like really have a hard time getting going during the day. Just like need to get jacked up.
So what are you most known for overall with your costume cosplaying world, and what would you like to be more known for?
I always find this question a little bit hard. I would say that I have a very popular. Which way can I move to show you? This way? Okay, hold on. I have a very popular anime costume that is the wonderful West Photography took the picture, and then Steve Kaminsky edited the photo. But I have this Natsu character that was debuted like 11 years ago or 10 years ago. 9 years ago. I went my opposite way. 9 years ago. And this photo has been on a couple of different magazines. Crunchyroll has put it out there. Funimation has put it out there. So I think that's probably like the number one item that I normally get recognized for. Night Mage and I have done a lot of work together, and we do a lot of charity work. So I like to think that that is the work that I'm most known for, is that I have as of 2020, I had put in a little over $10,000 of my own donation towards pancreatic cancer. So I think that that is what I like to think I'm known for in the community, is that I do a lot of my own work and my own time to charitable events. My friends would say I'm probably known for walking barefoot in convention centers, because by the time I'm done with costumes in a day, I am like the person who's walking back to the hotel taking my wig off, I'm taking my shoes off, I'm leaving a trail of my costume behind me, and so my friends are oftentimes having to pick that up behind and be like carrying it.
So what is your latest project, if you can talk about it?
Yeah, so I just wrapped up. I did a remake of Raiden from Mortal Kombat, and I was able to do some embroidery work on it and some foam work. I did a little bit of electronics in the hat so that the hat lit up. I did Lunette from the Big Comfy Couch, and it was so fun and so comfortable. And I got to use the Cricut to make the shirt. And when in reality, like 10 years ago, I probably would have just painted it on with acrylic paint. And so it was really cool to use the Cricut. And then I also did Sweet Tooth. I did Gus from Sweet Tooth. I haven't gotten too much in the comics of Sweet Tooth. Now I'm interested in it. But I did watch all of the Netflix series. So those are the ones I just wrapped up. And then the one I'm starting on is Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers, and just because I think it's going to be really fun and over the top and ridiculous, and I've never done like a giant wig before, so I try to do something each time a little bit different so I can try to grow my skill set.
Oh, see, Kristen's saying we're so happy to have Kayce with us today. So
I am so happy as well. And I know we are at 42 minutes, so don't forget we are taking donations today.
Yes.
So it is at the bottom. You're here supporting this, and you are a super friend of mine or of the channel. Go and donate. We need to see those.
Definitely. So, what advice would you give coming generations up, about the ways of the costume,
Oh my gosh. Hot glue is hot. Wear a respirator when you're supposed to wear a respirator, because contact cement, plasti dip, fume poisoning is actually a thing, and you can really
get a lot of glues and epoxies too. Whew,
yeah, you can get really sick. People don't think that. If you're wearing cosplay contacts are made in a factory and they are stored in little jars for months at a time. So you need to go to the doctor to make sure that you can wear them. And 2, when you get them out of those little jars, you need to wash them in a little bit of water so that you don't have any residue. And have fun. Like, seriously, it's not that big of a deal. I know that TikTok and Instagram and Facebook has made cosplay into this like really glamorous lifestyle, and people are making a lot of money now making things for gaming conventions and Blizzard and all of these things, but just have fun, because that's what it really, really is all about. It's about taking your favorite thing and putting it on your body, and that's really.
So, being in the costuming realm, you probably end up meeting a lot of different kinds of people, and probably celebrities and such too. Do you have a story about like who your favorite interaction was?
From a celebrity perspective, let's see. I got to meet Charlie Cox and Eldon Henson, who are Foggy and Daredevil in the Netflix series. I met them with my sister, and we were dressed as Elektra and Daredevil. And we walked in. They were they told the photography team to pause. They took a selfie with us. We took our picture, and my sister was so excited leaving that she, when you leave, like, photo ops has like a curtain. When she walked out of the curtain, she just took off sprinting in some random direction. I have no idea where she was going, but she had so much nervous energy from meeting them. She just took off sprinting, and I'm like, wait, come back, we gotta go actually get our photo.
Yeah.
But they were super lovely. They took a selfie with us, and it was very cool to have that experience as like in their costumes. Elektra at that point hadn't been debuted in the Netflix series, so very cool. I've gotten my photo as Princess Buttercup with Carrie Elways. Very cool, very lovely. Having Carrie Elways say "as you wish" to you is a very cool experience. I, in my personal life, have had a lot of great experiences because of what I've done in the past with the Comic-Con world, with the Next Generation cast. I think that Jonathan Frakes and that those guys are really, really incredible personalities to work with. So I've been very lucky and blessed with the interactions.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So, what's the most expensive costume you've ever pulled together, and then what was the most economical?
Man, you're asking like some hard-hitting questions. These are good.
I thought about it. I tried.
Okay, economical. It's probably something like a Velma costume, right? Because like you can get everything just off of
street
Amazon.
Clothes. It's street clothes.
It's like $50 to get everything, and really easy. And then I can use the skirt elsewhere. Most expensive costume is probably something with wings, I would say. So I've done Dawnstar from the Legion of Superheroes, and I've done Hawkgirl from just kind of my own spinoff, but from DC Comics. And so both of those had wings, and I think that is probably the most time and energy that you put into it. And then it's like my first set of wings, Tammy and Tino help, but it's like a lot of insulation foam, so can get pretty pricey as you're kind of adding that up. And then my second set of wings was EVA foam, but it's just like a lot of EVA foam, so it can get pricey as well. I've never done wings with feathers just because that is very expensive. So I would say probably a wing costume is the most expensive.
Yeah, I seem to recall back when I was thinking maybe of doing either a hot man costume or my brain was working on the Marvel side, and I just the Angel.
Oh, okay.
Because back when I was thinking about it, I don't think anyone had really done it much.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool ways to do wings now where you can kind of cut down the cost, but I would say those are probably the most expensive costumes I've done.
I just remember Jeff Holland, his Hawkman was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an incredible, I mean, I just feel like the costuming community just keeps getting better and better. And even with these new kiddos that are coming into it, right? They just are learning all of these new skills and the different tools that they have available to them, like a 3D printer, right? That we didn't have available to us, I think is just, the quality is really increasing.
So, as far as doing a solo project or a group project, which kind of thing are you most fond of? I know for me, I really enjoyed the group stuff because just seeing a group of heroes together is fun. But
I think they both have sort of their ups and downs, because I think a group costume, you get the energy of everyone that you're doing it with, and you kind of have this team that you're going into battle. And then I think the group costumes or duo costumes or trio costumes, those are the coolest photos ever out there. It's just so cool to see everyone together. I do also think it's a little trickier to make sure that you're matching everyone's vibe, right? So, like, are we in the same, like, and you and I have both done a lot of DC, so are we in the same generation? Do we make sense together? Are you doing a bunch of weathering and I'm going clean spandex, and now we don't make any sense looking next to each other? I think that that's all a little bit of a perception item, right? When you're doing it by yourself, you make it however you want, and then you move on with the day. But I think the energy of costuming with your friends is unlike anything else. Like doing a Teen Titans group or a Justice Society group, the energy is like contagious, and you just feel that energy for like years, and you just can't wait to do the next costume with your friends.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's see. This pretty much takes most of my questions, but so what? How? You've probably answered it in other ways too, but the aspects of using your skills to help other people and the charity work and stuff you do, that's probably one of the best feelings, probably, right, about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love paneling at cons because I love talking about the things that I've learned so other people can learn. Like, I love doing Worbla classes so that people can learn about Worbla, and they can, like, you know, Worbla is very expensive. I love being able to donate my time to charity. Some of the most valuable times that I've had in my cosplay career is going to a children's hospital or doing a kids event or something along those lines. I've done a lot of work with Spina Bifida Foundation. So I think it's very rewarding to be able to give back, especially because when we started Trevor, there was no way to get that information, right? And so there was no way to do those things.
Well, there was the Hero Costuming Forum, but I mean, it was back when there were forums on the internet, and it was super nice, and there were a lot of threads. But even so, there was a lot of gatekeeping. And,
a lot of gatekeeping. And nowadays, it's like people are just putting reels out left and right of how they do something, right? And so I think that's a really cool thing. You could start costuming tomorrow just by looking on Instagram for reels. And it's like, but yeah, the charity work and being able to give back to the community is a really rewarding feeling.
Okay. Before that question, we're up to $960 now, and the next 3 people to donate $50 or more automatically gets a MomBomb gift set. So yay!
Yay! Do it.
Okay, and now we have another question. Steph says, do you have any tips for people wanting to get into cosplay?
Most of the time I answered this question with not the best answer. It's just do it, because I think it's so readily available nowadays that you can buy a costume and just do it. But I do think, like, if you're wanting to get into it in a sort of sense of like a presentation style, do a little bit of research before and then start practicing with something that you want to try. So for instance, if you don't know how to sew and you're wanting to make your costume from scratch, you probably want to take a class at Joann's, or you want to take a class at Hobby Lobby. You want to probably watch some YouTube videos of how to thread a machine and run a machine and get some cheap fabric to start practicing. When you start into the sewing world, for instance, making pillows, dice bags, pot holders, anything like that to just get practice is good. If you know that stuff and you're just looking for kind of an excuse, what is your current fandom? What is the thing that you absolutely eat, breathe, and sleep, right? So what is
Right.
what
It's something you have to passion.
what costume brings, what character brings you passion? It could be a supernatural character and you buy a trench coat off of Amazon. Boom.
Yep.
Just do it. And I think that's normally my answer. So sorry, Steph, that's probably not a really great answer, but just doing it is kind of the first answer.
Okay, well, my final, I'm thinking of doing, as I'm doing more interviews, getting into I think it's William Lipton style of interviewing. When he talked to actors, he would ask them what kind of tree they would be. And I'm asking people about something related to them. So if you were a costuming supply, what would you be?
Oh, that is the funnest question I think I've ever heard in my life. Oh gosh. Oh, hold on. I have to
No, like your personality. If you were, yeah.
I think that I'm fabric scissors because
Okay.
I'm sharp and shiny.
Mm-hmm.
But if you use me on the wrong thing, I'm gonna get really angry. And so I think I'm fabric scissors, specifically that you can't use on any other thing besides just fabric.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
That's a great question.
Well, thank you. Well, I would say with the people, I was like, "What art supply were you?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm thinking, what would you think of for costuming?" But
yeah, that's a really fun question.
But well, thank you for joining us today. I mean, we're coming up on our time. We've got a few minutes left. Is there anything you'd want to say that I hadn't covered, or?
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Super Kayce Cosplay. Don't forget that we just did this whole hour because we are donating to the MomBomb organization. So if you haven't donated, jump into that link below and donate. If you are thinking about costuming and you haven't done it, just do it. It's going to be so fun. Do it with some friends. You can even go out to a bar on Halloween and get started, and it's so fun. And kind of in that same realm is just keep your creative passion alive and, love life, because I think that's really important in this day and age, to remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others.
That's very good. And then one other thing, in terms of what did costuming bring to your life that was a surprise?
Friends, for sure. I don't think that I would have ever had as many friends as and as many very close, deep friends as I would have had if I didn't start costuming. I mean, the super friends, my cosplay friends, my puzzle piece group, were all sort of brought together closer because of costuming.
That's a great answer. So, well, I guess, and that's it for what I had to say. But thank you for joining
so much
us.
For having me.
Yeah, thank you. It's just fun to catch up.
It was awesome.
So we're coming up on the end, and again, MomBombs is the thing. We need to support them. And thank you, Kayce, for being here with us, and hopefully we'll see you soon in some form or fashion.
Yeah, thank you, team.
All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Hey everybody, Jamie Kelly here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like it, share it, comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you've not already. And be sure to check out all of the videos in the 2024 online fan convention for Otherworldly Fundraising. And be sure to check out MomBombs and support them. If you can, check out the links in the description for all the relevant information. Thank you so much. And again, this is Jamie Kelly with EAP Society and Jack Life YouTube channels. And we hope to see you back here at Otherworldly Fundraising real soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.